unless we don't develop a committee to actually talk about the different things that are happening in the school throughout the school year. So what you have to do, you have to have a PBIS data implementation teams and an MTSS committee. Now, the data team looks at the data, aggregates the data, say these are the trends that are happening. The implementation team takes that data, discusses it, and talks about the different interventions that are going to be applied and assessed throughout the school. So their jobs, they aggregate the data, discuss behavioral trends, suggest specific interventions for specific scholars. That's in these particular meetings is how we actually suggest if a child might be suggested for check in, check out, or breaks or better. Implement interventions that come from the data, suggest ways to complement identify expected behaviors. So that means right there, what are ways that we can raise behavior? And we sit there and say, okay, we're having a problem transitioning from the lunchroom back to classroom after lunch. That's when a lot of scholars are receiving negative consequences, or that's the trend where, the documentation happened or altercations are happening during that time. But what are ways that we can motivate scholars to actually alleviate that particular behavior? Well, we might say to a whole class, okay, fifth grade, we see that we're having trouble transitioning from the lunchroom. If we do this correctly today, everybody gets a live school point. Right there, that gives them ownership, that makes them responsible. And then we might even put almost like a competition thing. Let's see if we could transition better. If room 201 can transition better than room 202. If you transition better than room 202, you get 5 bonus points, something like that. We also hold the scholars responsible for each other. Hey, we're playing baseball today. We're all in this together. We're supposed to transition appropriately. If we have 3 of your classmates that do not transition appropriately, I apologize, but I cannot give you a live school point at this particular time. So now you have the scholar saying, hey, do the right thing. Do what you're supposed to do. So these are different ways that we try to come up with in these meetings to actually motivate the scholars to actually perform the expected behaviors. We have turnaround trainings to the small learning communities that the team actually performs. So we want somebody from each team, from each academy, so that way they can learn everything in these trainings and then go back and tell their staff members, to tell their coworkers. We're continuing support for staff members. If they sit there and say, hey, if they find somebody on the PBIS team, hey, I need a classroom intervention to get my kids to learn, but I want to come up with a contest. There might be somebody on the PBS team, because we already discussed it, that can tell them, hey, on Friday, try this, try that. And we just want them to constantly be torchbearers and champions